What is up, guys, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we are doing something that has really interested me over the last couple of days, and it is because of two videos, ASMR videos that I watched. One from Roscoe ASMR and one from Dido ASMR, who I've referred to on the channel before. Roscoe ASMR's video was a true crime ASMR video where he talked about different true crime cases, and Dido ASMR was all about unsolved mysteries. I am today doing what Dido did and doing a unsolved mysteries video, and it has become my newest fascination, just because of the psychology behind the human mind. That's especially with true crime. And if you guys enjoy these types of videos, I might make a playlist of them, make a series of them, as they interest me, and it might be something that I might invest quite a lot of time into, if that's what you want to see. But if you do enjoy this video, smash a like on it, subscribe if you're new. 86% of people who watch my properly recent video were not subscribed, so please do consider subscribing. I want to hit 150 subscribers next, on the 103 that I'm currently at. And also, if you don't follow me on Instagram, I have a poetry Instagram account called Caught in Two Minds Poetry, where I post all of my poems and content on there, so go check that out as well. Anyway, I am using the exact same article that Dido used for his, which is on parade.com, and it is called "Beware, these 50 strangest unsolved mysteries of all time are seriously spooky." Now, I must add before I continue, I don't know the contents within these unsolved mysteries, so any sensitive content, I don't know what's coming up, so I do apologise if there is any sensitive content, and if sensitivity and trigger warnings and trigger stuff are not for you, then click off this video. But if you are interested like me and want to know a bit more about these unsolved mysteries, make sure and stay tuned. I will timestamp each unsolved mystery down below so you can skip to ones that seem more interesting to you. I will probably cover 4 or 5 maybe in this video, and let me know in the comments what your favourite unsolved mystery was. So, let's begin with the first unsolved mystery, which is going to be called the Black Dahlia Murder. On January 15th, 1947, the remains of 22-year-old Elizabeth Short, aka the Black Dahlia, were found on the block of 3800 S. Norton Avenue in Los Angeles. The body was cut in half and so pale and drained of blood that the woman who found the body mistook it for a mannequin at first. The body was cut with surgical precision, leaving no trauma to internal organs and bones. Her face was also cut from her mouth to ears, leaving an eerie, permanent smile. There was no blood on the ground, making it believed that the body was moved after she had been murdered. 9 days after she was discovered, an envelope was sent to the examiner addressed by using individual cut and pasted letters from magazines and newspapers. It read, "The Los Angeles Examiner and other Los Angeles papers. Here is Dahlia's belongings. Letter to follow." As promised, the envelope contained Short's social security card, birth certificate, photographs, names written on pieces of paper, and an address book with pages missing and the name Mark Hansen embossed on the cover. Gasoline was used to clean the objects, removing the fingerprints. On March 14th, a suicide note scrawled in pencil on a bit of paper was found tucked in a shoe in a pile of men's clothing by the ocean's edge at the foot of Breeze Avenue in Venice. The note read, "To whom it may concern, I have waited for the police to capture me for the Black Dahlia killing, but I have not. I am too much of a coward to turn myself in, so this is the best way out for me. I couldn't help myself for that, or this. Sorry, Mary." The pile of clothing was first seen by the beach caretaker who reported the discovery to the lifeguard captain, John Dillon. Dylan immediately notified the West Los Angeles police station. The clothes included a coat and trousers of blue herringbone tweed, a brown and white shirt, white jockey shorts, tan socks, and tan moccasin shoes about size 8. However, the clothes gave no clue about the identity of the owner. Although many suspects were named, no authorities were able to identify the Black Dahlia's killer, and the mystery has gone unsolved for over 70 years. See, I don't know the contents of these unsolved mysteries, so I apologise if that was a bit sensitive for you guys. But the Black Dahlia killer, the fact that it went unsolved, but they found all of those things, but they must have found some sort of evidence with the clothes that they found and the letter, unless the killer just used methods to not put any DNA on the scene, etc. We'll never know. We'll never know. As it said, it's been unsolved for over 70 years. So we'll have to see. Interesting one to think about. The next one is the Wall Street bombing of 1920. Now, as a historian, I know about the Wall Street crash, but this might have something different to do with it. During the lunch rush on Wall Street on a September day in 1920, a nondescript man driving a cart pressed an old horse forward in front of the USA office across from the JP Morgan building. He stopped his cart, got down, and immediately disappeared into the crowd. Minutes later, the cart exploded into a hail of metal fragments, immediately killing more than 30 people and injuring 300. Wow, that's a lot of people. The aftermath was horrific, and the death toll rose as the day wore on and more victims succumbed to their injuries. In the beginning, it wasn't obvious that the explosion was an intentional act of terrorism. It was viewed as simply an accident. Maintenance crews cleaned up the damage overnight, plus throwing away any physical evidence that would be crucial to identifying the perpetrator. By the next morning, Wall Street was back in business. Conspiracy theories were abundant, but the New York Police and Fire Departments, the Bureau of Investigations, and the US Secret Service were on the job to find out the truth. Each lead was actively pursued, and the Bureau interviewed hundreds of people who had been around that area before, during, and after the attack, but collected very little information. The few recollections of the driver and wagon were vague and useless. The NYPD was able to reconstruct the bomb and its fuse mechanism, but there was much debate about the nature of the explosive. However, the most promising lead that had actually come prior to the explosion, a mailman had found 4 crudely spelt and printed flyers in the Wall Street area from a group calling itself the American Anarchist Fighters that demanded the release of political prisoners. The letters seemed similar to ones used in the previous year in 2 bombing campaigns which were led by Italian anarchists. The Bureau investigated up and down the East Coast to trace the printing of these flyers, but they were unsuccessful. Based on bomb attacks over the previous decade, the Bureau initially suspected followers of the Italian anarchist Luigi Gallini that had committed the crime. But the case couldn't be proved, and Gallini had already fled the country. Over the next 3 years, hot leads turned cold, and promising trails turned into dead ends. In the end, the bombers were never identified. Well, I guess maybe then this potentially sparked the Wall Street crash, but then the Wall Street crash was because of the Great Depression. But there are many, many things that could have prevented that from happening. Maybe if they would have found the bombing of the bombers that did that Wall Street accident or investigation, maybe it could have prevented any further accidents from happening in the future. Interesting one to think about once again. The next unsolved mystery, again quite sensitive, is called The Disturbing Death of Elisa Lam. And this is one that is quite recent as well. So any true crime fans, let me know if you've heard of this before. On January the 26th, 2013, so quite recent, 21-year-old Canadian tourist Elisa Lam checked into the Cecil Hotel in downtown LA, Los Angeles, when she never checked out on February the 1st, nor had any contact with her parents. The LA Police Department was contacted. On February the 19th, 18 days from the last time she was seen, Lam's body was found floating and naked in a water tank on the roof of the Cecil Hotel. Her body was found due to hotel guests complaining about the hotel's water pressure. One couple even reported that the water was coming out black and had a bad taste, probably from the blood of the body. According to the hotel's manager, when Lam first checked in, she was staying in a hostel-style room with other travellers, but later was moved to her own private room due to complaints from her housemates about odd behaviour. The last time she was seen was on the surveillance footage from the hotel's elevator. The footage showed Lam acting strange and peculiar, almost like she was hiding. She also moved her hands in strange ways, and it looked like she was talking to someone who was out of view from the security's camera. After her body and the surveillance footage was found, it was suggested that she was on some sort of hallucinogenic drug. Even though Lam took 4 different medications for her bipolar disorder, toxicology studies reported that there were no traces of any drugs or alcohol that could have contributed to her death. There was also a theory that she was murdered and died as a result of drowning. But the autopsy report showed no evidence of trauma. To this day, no one knows how she was able to access the roof or climb into the water tank and shut the 20-pound lid by herself. Now that one is strange to me, because I think for me the only reasonable explanation for that is probably either it was something to do with the people that she was staying with in the hotel room, and maybe the reason why she was acting strange is because she was pressured into moving to this private room by one of the people that she was travelling with. But the fact that there was no trauma to the body or anything, could have been a suicide maybe. She could have drowned herself potentially. I don't know, it's interesting to think about. The next one I have heard of, and this man is incredibly famous to anyone, especially in London. They even have a exhibition about him, and I know people who used to go to my university who actually studied him as a psychological and criminology case study. And this is Jack the Ripper. In 1988, in foggy dark streets of the East End of London, better known as the Whitechapel district, lived a serial killer that would go down in history named Jack the Ripper. Even though the Whitechapel district was known for its violence and crime, the string of murders conducted by Jack the Ripper would terrorise the public that no one had ever seen before. He was described as a madman with no clear motive, even though his most famous murders only included 5 women known as the Canonical Five. Many theories suggest that he claimed the lives of up to 11 women. All of the victims of the Canonical Five were prostitutes, as it was common for women at that time, who lived in the Whitechapel district to take on means to survive. All 5 killings took place within a mile of each other from August 7th to September 10th, 1888. Several other murders occurring around that time period have also been investigated as work of Leather Apron, another nickname given to Jack the Ripper. A number of letters were allegedly sent by the killer to the London Met Police, taunting officers about his gruesome activities and speculating on murders to come. The name Jack the Ripper originates from a letter which is famously known now as the From Hell letter that was published at the time of the attacks. Despite countless investigations claiming definitive evidence of the brutal killer's identity, their true name and motive are still unknown. See, I've heard about Jack the Ripper's murders, and I've obviously done a bit of lessons on them, but the one thing that isn't mentioned the one thing that's not mentioned in that, which I know, is that all the murders were somehow connected. Like, all the women were connected to each other. And all of the killings were very, very close to each other, like in very close proximity to each other. So, unless Jack the Ripper, or whoever he was, travelled to get to where that he did all his killings, maybe there was a personal connection to the women. I don't know, but women were treated quite harshly at the time, whatever the case. The next one and final one, which I will do in this video, is called The Case of JonBenet Ramsey. On December 26th, 1996, in Boulder, Colorado, Patsy Ramsey claimed to have discovered a ransom note for her 6-year-old daughter, JonBenet Ramsey, on the back staircase inside the Ramsey home. This prompted her to call the police at 5:52 a.m. to report that JonBenet was missing. The only people inside the house were John Ramsey, her father, Patsy, her mother, and her brother Burke. Oddly enough, JonBenet's body was found inside the home in the utility room in the basement less than 8 hours later. The body was found by John, and duct tape was found across her mouth and a smooth cord around her neck, potentially a hanging. When police arrived, it was suspected that the true crime scene was heavily compromised due to multiple people arriving at the scene. The police had also claimed that they had not searched the house after Patsy's initial call because there was no reason to believe that JonBenet was in the house. At the time of her death, JonBenet was known as a child beauty queen superstar, having won at least 5 high-end child beauty competitions. Her death was ultimately ruled a homicide. The autopsy stated that JonBenet's official cause of death was asphyxia by strangulation associated with craniocerebral trauma. Due to JonBenet's beauty queen popularity and her mother being a former beauty queen, the case caused nationwide and media interest. Today, as of when this article was written, the crime is still unsolved and remains an open investigation with the Boulder Police Department. So I'll give my thoughts before I end the video. I genuinely believe, in my opinion, that this could have been a hanging or like a forced hanging due to the craniocerebral trauma to the head. But the fact that the body was found in her own home by her father, maybe her own mother killed her, her own daughter maybe, because obviously with certain mothers and certain people like that, some people care more about success than their own family. So maybe that JonBenet Ramsey, maybe she was starting to not succeed as well as her peers, and the mother, being a former beauty queen, didn't agree with that, and maybe lost her way and fought and maybe killed her own daughter. Maybe it really fascinates me, the psychology behind the human mind. But yeah, that is where I'm going to wrap up today's video. If you want to see more videos like this, please do let me know in the comments, and please like this video if you did enjoy it. I probably will anyway make more videos of this because this really fascinates me. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I apologise about the sensitive content, but I will see you all in the next video.